I just had a gigantic epiphany in the car earlier while I was on my way home, and it just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. And the reason why these things happen to me is because ADHD brain, ruminate, always in the background thinking. And then came the major realization, and it really hit me. So I've been navigating the system now while fleeing DV, formally in like full force for approximately the past 8 months. And I've been attempting to escape for over a year, specifically a year and 2 months. And every time I called the police, it always seemed to me like there was some hypocrisy or some double standard or some moving goalpost. Like I just could not put my finger on it. And then when I had to flee in February because of the discovery of the camera, and I went to the domestic violence shelter, and I was there with a ton of different women coming from different relationships, many of them coming from domestic violence in a non-registered, non-married context. So cohabitation and or common law, essentially. The ones coming from those relationships had more access to services, had more access to support from the police, had more access to support from the courts. It was really interesting to watch. There were some that were extremely obvious that were married that did get protections. But many of us who were married and leaving had to navigate the system entirely differently. Entirely differently. And let me be abundantly clear when I say that when women flee domestic violence and go to a domestic violence shelter, there's 100% chance of abuse and 100% chance of some form of criminal violence. Straight up. We're not insane. We leave for a reason. And we leave with nothing for a reason. But here's the point that is even more sinister and pretty gross, really, when you think about it. This is what I realized. I realized that the reason why police continues to label domestic violence in the context of marriage as just a jointly complicated or malicious or like high conflict situation is because they equate the reporting of the crime by the women fleeing domestic violence to the actual fucking crime committed by the perpetrators of violence. They equate them. They give them the same weight of action. Meaning that we are quite literally treated as malicious cattle by police, by judges, and so on and so forth. We are treated quite literally as property. Quite literally. We are quite literally treated as property. They are treating the reporting of the crime to be just as heinous as the crime. Or they're diluting the crime because they think that it's malicious to report the fucking crime. That's what's going on. That's what the marriage certificate does. It quite literally holds you hostage in the most literal way. And it paints you with a violent brush when you are a victim quite literally begging for help. You're begging the system to do its fucking job, and yet somehow you asking the system to do its job makes the system feel that it shouldn't have to do its job because you're married. Don't get me wrong. DV without the context of marriage is still treated extremely subpar. Big time. But the level of tolerance that married women fleeing domestic violence have to develop in order to survive, and the level of defamation that we have to tolerate systemically in order to survive, is quite literally because they are equating the act of reporting a crime to the perpetrator and the crime itself. I don't think I'm late to the party. I think I'm literally finally making sense of what the fuck I've witnessed. I don't think it's ever been put so plainly to me, and I sure as hell don't think it's ever been put so plainly to you. That quite literally, systemically, you have your rights revoked because society thinks because we picked and we didn't pick better, then we should suck it up, and the fact that we complain makes us as guilty as the criminals committing crimes towards us. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Let me know in the comments if you have seen the gap between the treatment of married women trying to escape domestic violence and the treatment of cohabitating or common law women trying to escape domestic violence. Let me know if you've observed that difference. I know in New Brunswick, the province I'm in, it's rampant. Rampant. I can tell you right now that New Brunswick has a regular history of writing off the complaints of women reporting to police. They write it off as malice. Because somehow reporting a crime is as bad as committing the crime itself. That's what's going on. Do you feel the discomfort yet? And more importantly, what are you willing to do about it?